news in Shreveport. A female Shreveport police officer dead after being shot in the head.
The interim police chief expected to give an update right now. Let's go ahead and head out to the police department for more.
I'd like to thank Mayor Perkins, Councilman Bradford, Councilman Bowman, Chief Wolverton, and Deputy Chief Gooden for joining me today during this difficult time in the police department and the city's history. At approximately 8:20 p.m. on January 9, 2019, Shreveport police officers responded to a 911 call from a residence in the 1600 block of Midway Avenue in reference to a female suffering from a gunshot wound. Within minutes, officers arrived on scene and located uniformed officer Chatéri Payne, who was gravely injured from at least one gunshot wound and was fighting for her life. The Shreveport Fire Department rushed Officer Payne to Ochsner Health Center for immediate treatment for her life-threatening injuries. Despite their best efforts, Officer Payne succumbed to her injuries within hours after having been transported to the hospital. Every life is precious, and the taking of any human life is unacceptable. But when a servant who has taken an oath and committed their life to protecting others is violently taken from us, we all collectively feel the pain of that loss. It has been said when a police officer is killed, it is not an agency that loses an officer, it's an entire nation. Those words solemnly ring true today. This morning as I address you, we have many more questions than answers, but the dedicated men and women who investigate these kinds of violent crimes for the Shreveport Police Department are the finest anywhere, and they are diligently working as we speak to get those questions answered. At the early stage of the investigation, we are not willing to rule out anything. We will follow every lead wherever they may take us, and we will work to identify and apprehend the coward or cowards responsible for the brutal murder of Officer Payne. We are joined in our efforts by numerous law enforcement and public safety agencies. Collectively, we have worked throughout the night and will continue to toil until justice is served. Officer Chatéri Payne was hired on July 27, 2018 and began her career as a cadet in the Academy, Class 79. She was well liked by her classmates, and it was evident to all she had a true calling to serve. Officer Payne graduated from the Academy on November 16, 2018. I handed her diploma to her, and I shook her hand as she proudly walked across the stage and joined our ranks. I saw firsthand the excitement in her eyes as she embarked upon her chosen career of serving others. Officer Payne accepted the calling God had placed upon her, and willingly took the oath to serve the citizens of Shreveport. The murder of a police officer is a catastrophic event for any police agency, and we are no different. But let me assure you, we will not lose focus. We will not falter. We will fulfill our obligations not only to the citizens of Shreveport, but to the men and women who so courageously put on this uniform every day. We will continue to provide professional police services the public expects and deserves while we mourn the senseless, tragic death of Officer Payne. Most importantly, we will use every resource at our disposal and aggressively track all leads to bring her killer or killers to justice. We ask anybody who may have information which would assist us in our investigation to call Crime Stoppers at 673-7373 or leave an anonymous tip at www.lockemup.org. To Officer Payne's family, you will continually be in my prayers, and our family is now your family. Well, Mayor Perkins, who has been with me most of the night, and I will take any questions you may have.
Chief.
Yes, sir.
It was said she had a 2-year-old child. Was the child with her, and did the child witness the event?
There was a child located at the residence. I do not know what the child may or may not have been witness to.
Did this stem from a domestic dispute of any kind?
We're not sure at this time. We have a number of investigators from the police department, from the fire department, from neighboring agencies at the crime scene as we speak, continually investigating. So it's too early to know exactly what the cause of this tragic murder was.
Has your department been given any sort of suspect description?
We have some suspect information at this point, but again, we can't verify anything, and you know, we certainly want to continue to receive any leads that someone may have.
Officers detained someone for questioning yesterday near the residence. Is that person still in custody, in police custody?
We did have a witness on scene that was questioned. They are not in custody at this moment, not continuing from last night anyway. If there's any new individuals in custody, I'm not aware of it.
Will you provide information for us to help you capture this person who killed the officer?
Suspect information?
Yes.
When I get something that we feel confident in, we will certainly do that. At this time, I don't feel confident in all the information that we have.
It's been reported that she was preparing to go on shift. Was she in her Class A uniform, and she was all formed out?
Certainly, she was a uniformed officer in a police uniform, preparing to work her shift on patrol.
She was outside of home. Was that the officer's home or another person's home?
I'm not sure at this time.
Chief, the suspect information that you have, do you know if that individual has any relationship or is familiar with the officer's laws?
Cannot say for sure at this time.
What are the details can you tell us about Officer Payne? Like, what kind of police officer was she?
I can tell you that many of her classmates were with us at the hospital last night, and obviously having a difficult time with this. Although I did not know her well, she was a very professional officer. She was very fit. She was intelligent. The classmates spoke highly of her, that this was the job that she was meant to do. She enjoyed serving. She was a good officer, and you cannot replace an officer. Certainly, it will be difficult to move on.
Was she a Shreveport native?
I do not know.
We were hearing gunshot wounds to the head and multiple gunshot wounds. Can you confirm that?
There were multiple gunshot wounds. Cannot confirm exactly where she was shot.
I understood that she went to Captain Shreve. She was a track star. Can you confirm any of that?
I cannot. As we get more information going forward, our public information officers will be sure to release that information and keep all of you updated. If we developed any positive suspect information and we need assistance, we will certainly get that information out as well.
Was she able to discharge her weapon in her own defense?
Not that I'm aware of.
Chief, you're talking about some information that you have. I'm sorry if you asked me this direct question, but from the evidence that you have of what the person looked like, your officer was in a bush.
It's difficult to tell. It's difficult to tell.
You guys were working 2 shootings last night. You had this first one involving the officer, then a second one following shortly after. Did that hinder the investigation into that first?
It did not. The support from other agencies, the citizens as a whole, has been outstanding. Immediately received calls from a number of local, state, federal law enforcement agencies letting me know that whatever we needed, their officers, their troopers, their deputies were at our disposal. And so we had plenty of personnel last night to aggressively work the crime scene, as we still are, and respond appropriately to the other events that occur within the city.
What do you want to tell the person who perpetrated this horrendous act?
That we're not going to stop, that we are going to continue to investigate very aggressively and use all resources available to us, which are a number of resources, until we reach closure.
Have any sort of outside agencies offered help in terms of
Yes,
investigation?
certainly. A number of outside agencies. And I don't even want to begin to name them because I don't want to miss anybody. Every law enforcement agency in Northwest Louisiana has offered support.
Can you confirm her age?
I cannot.
A question specifically to the mayor's office. I mean, you've just taken the reins of the city. It's been a tough start to the new year, not day 10, and we've had at least a couple of fatalities. What's your goal moving forward? What do you do?
Well, we've already changed some policies to address policing efforts in our city. But what we also need to do is pray as a city, and we also need to look inside of our own souls, inside of our friends, family members, etc., to find the root of some of the crime problems we have and that we're suffering from. I've told everybody on the campaign trail I cannot legislate morality, and this is something that we as a community are going to have to all embrace each other with and come to some solutions ourselves. But from the policing front, you better believe me, Chief Raymond, are working every day to make sure that our police officers are on the street to find these perpetrators and bring them to justice.
For you, what was it like last night being at the scene?
I have a military background, and I have experienced loss, but I can tell you one never prepares you for the next. It's a very heavy night for myself. You can look and see it on the faces of our men and women in uniform across agencies, not just the police department, but the fire department was there as well, working, and it was a heavy night. As Police Chief Raymond said, you can't replace an officer, and she had such a great reputation amongst her peers, amongst the other men and women in uniform, and it's just a heavy night. It's a big loss for Shreveport Police Department and the city of Shreveport.
Mayor Perkins, what do you want to tell your officers who might be a little on edge about putting on the uniform on a day-to-day basis?
I'd just like to reassure them that the reason why they signed up to be police officers is still there. As a matter of fact, this is a moment of mourning, but it's also a moment to remind us that there are bad people in the world that want to harm our family members that we put on that uniform to protect. So, again, it's a moment of mourning, but I hope that it reinvigorates them to make them want to work harder to protect their loved ones and protect the citizens of Shreveport.
What would you like to tell the citizens of Shreveport directly?
Just reiterate the message that I just gave them. You know, it's going to take a community effort to look into some of the roots of our problems and not just changing some policing policies. We are going to have to come together as a community at this time of mourning. I want everyone, like I said, I hope everyone can pray and put their family members, Officer Payne's family, in their thoughts. And we have to move forward. We have to improve as a community. This is not going to be a policing problem or a mayor's office problem. This is a Shreveport problem, and we can get better together.
Are officers going to be working extra shifts during the investigation?
I would allow Chief Raymond to respond to the detailed policing questions. Defer to him.
I know you can't be at every shooting, but can people expect to see you at shootings in the city during your time in office?
Yeah, if I'm here in Shreveport, I will be on the scene. Chief Raymond and I talked about that actually on the 29th. We set up my protocol for me to be at his side and supporting him as he responds to any violent crimes in the community. So yes, if I'm in Shreveport and I'm not out marketing our city, then I will be on the crime scenes.
I know that one of the things you've talked about is making sure our police officers are paid for their professionalism. And I understand that maybe you might be at some point working on adjusting their pay schedule to where we don't lose officers to other communities.
Yes, and I mean, a great question. I have council members behind me. Council member Grayson Boucher brought it up in the last city council meeting. We are looking diligently at that city budget right now to make sure that our police officers are being compensated properly and that we can retain our police officers. And again, moments like this just reminds us in the community to have even greater resolve for and appreciation for what our officers do for the city of Shreveport.
Chief, maybe early in this time of wanting to ask, but do we have steps of what is the next step in honoring the fallen officer?
We are working on those details now. The officer has been transported to a funeral home, and we're going to have more conversation with the family later today. We're certainly giving them some space to mourn. They have numbers to a number of my command staff and officers you see throughout this room who've also been with us throughout the night, and we're going to support them 100%, and this will be with full honor police burial.
And would you expect you and Mayor the public would get their opportunity also to pay the respect and honor?
As long as the family wishes that, certainly. I appreciate you coming out today. We've obviously got a lot of work still to do. We will once again be sure to keep you apprised as situations change and we get more information.
One other question, Chief.
Last question, yes, sir.
I guess it goes without saying the suspect is still at large. Would you say armed and dangerous? Could you?
Certainly, you know, I hate to assume, but since we don't, since we're not sure exactly who the suspect is at this point or suspects, we are going to assume that there are possibly still suspects at large that could be armed. But again, we're working aggressively and tirelessly to put closure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now that was live coverage from the Shreveport Police Headquarters. They have identified the police officer who was shot and killed last night as Chatéri Payne. They also mentioned that a child was at the residence at the time of the shooting.
And now they have not confirmed or released any information about the suspect or suspects, but said that they are actively working right now as we speak to find out that information, and as soon as they do have information that they are confident in, will release it to the public and to media in order to get the word out.
Now again, this happened last night just before 8:30 on Midway Avenue. She was in uniform when she was shot, but not on duty. She was on her way to work when this happened. Now Governor Edwards has also expressed his condolences.
Yeah, tweeting out, "This is a tragic loss, not only for the Shreveport community, but for all of us who rely on police officers to keep us safe. May we all pause and take a moment to pray for this officer, her family and friends, and the entire Shreveport Police Department."
Now the interim police chief again was there speaking, and Mayor Adrian Perkins as well. And we're going to have all of this on our website, arklatex-homepage.com. Stay with us throughout the day as well for updates.
Yeah, and tune in tonight to NBC 6 News at 5 for more on this breaking news coverage.
Now back to your regularly scheduled programming.